Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sound Money Matters Live. This is your host, Daniel Diaz, Executive Director of Citizens for Sound Money. And we have an interesting show. It's going to be a little different than any previous show. Most of the shows we've done, we've talked about the markets. We're definitely going to do that. But we're going to get into some libertarian philosophical questions about what's happened in Venezuela. And to discuss that with me is the one and only Koda from Defy the Grid. What's up, Koda? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well too.
I am. It's been a crazy past few days. We've hit all-time highs in silver, and we're getting close to all-time highs in gold. And a lot of that has to do with Venezuela. But before we get into Venezuela, we just opened up a physical store. Myself and my partners, we had an episode last week with Reno Kutsia and myself. We partnered to open up a physical location, and you run a store that's just online. So I want you to share what's going on your side of the precious metals industry from the online perspective, and I'll share with everybody what's been happening the last 48 hours on my side.
Okay. Well, I mean, online, honestly, we have a lot of selling. There's people are just buying like crazy. I figure that's a little bit different on like the storefront side. I'm envious of your storefront that you just set up, and I'm kind of not very envious for certain circumstances. Number one, you probably have like a lot of new customers that come in, right?
Yeah.
Um, we're seeing, I mean, that's kind of like the first go-to place. If you're like want to buy coins, you don't really trust, online, the waves or the internet and how things work. So I figure that you're probably getting a lot of like new customers right now.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Like I've been doing this as it's still technically it's still a side hustle. My full time job is C4SM, but this is a little bit more than a side hustle now. It's an actual business that I need to nurture and get up to speed. But I've had a clientele that was pretty steady. But in the last 48 hours, like customers that came in during the grand opening, we've been doing some Facebook marketing, advertising, very little, like $5 a day per ad, and we're only doing 2, 3 ads. Um, People are like just talking about it on Nextdoor, on Facebook. Now, location is a big deal for physical, right? Like I'm in smack dab in the middle. Within a 20-mile radius of the next two closest coin shops. So people are glad they can come here now instead of having to travel 20, 30 minutes to the next coin shop and not having to go to a pawn shop, right? So it's a little different than online. When before I was primarily like online, or I didn't really have a lot of inventory. Now it's a little different, but I'm brand new. Like this is a brand new experience. I've never had a retail business before in my life, and it's in the middle of a bull market, and it's right after Venezuela got attacked, which is even crazier. So you said you're not having a lot of people sell to you. You're actually people are buying from you online a lot right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's probably like maybe 1% of any of our interactions with customers is selling, right?
Yeah,
Um, a whole lot of buying. And you know what? It's just when it's in the mainstream media, when it's like all of a sudden, I've built up like this, not all of a sudden, but over the years, I built up like a clientele. And as soon as like the news says something, then they're like, oh yeah, defy the grid. I gotta buy silver. I haven't done that in a while, or gold, or pick your flavor. Um, but yeah, we've been very hesitant. I entertained the idea of opening like a storefront because once you open a storefront, you get all of the local customers bringing you silver or their
yeah.
parents' stuff and stuff. I don't get too much of that. Like I wish, oh man, I love going through coin collections, and just seeing like the treasures. Like whoa, like for example, one thing that I think you'll really appreciate, there was this coin that was like put in like a plastic slab. Okay,
Yeah,
it was a nickel, and
yeah.
I like looked up the year. I'm like, okay, sure, it's a silver, war nickel, but what's so special about it, right? So,
Hmm.
anyways, I put it down, and maybe like a few months later, I picked it back up, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find out what's so special about this stinking nickel. So I did some searches online. I came up with nothing. Anyways, I put it with my war nickels, okay? Still kept it in the slab. And then later I was kind of in a crunch for money, and I needed to um sort out what's silver and what's not. So I was sorting through all these nickels, and I was looking at them not based off the year like I did previously, but based off the mint mark. And this one of the nickels that was in the nickel that was in the slab didn't have a mint mark on it. But
Oh, yeah.
so what I did some more research. I'm like, what war nickel does not have a mint mark on it? And I go through like listings on eBay. Apparently, there's this guy that made, I want to
Fake
say,
nickels.
fake
Yeah.
nickels.
He made fake
Exactly.
nickels and he missed the mint mark. And
Y-
it's what's crazy is he made the nickel so perfect with the exact same amount of silver, yet he forgot the mint mark. So it's like a perfect counterfeit minus the mint mark, which yeah, no, I've heard about that. That's crazy.
Okay, now here's the crazy thing. The money that those command are easily in the just over $100. Okay, because the only way you're able to find one is in circulation because he spent them all.
Oh,
Right?
that's fascinating. I didn't know that about I didn't realize that about the nickel. You're right. He spent them. He spent them all. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've done a few estate buys, and people are bringing in a lot of metal. I have people bringing in, their parents' collections, inheritances, or just people who have been holding it since they bought it the high, right, 15 years ago, $40 an ounce. They've been holding it forever. So and here's the interesting part: they're coming now because silver is skyrocketing, especially because of what happened in Venezuela, right?
Mhm.
Like you know, I woke up on Saturday, and I get I wake up and I see a text message like from a friend of mine I haven't talked to in years. He's like, he's done it. He's done it. I'm like, what do you mean he's done it? He's like, he's gone into Venezuela. I'm like, what? Like this is like 6 in the morning. I woke up and I look at the news. I'm like, no freaking way. He actually did it. He went after Maduro, and it only took an hour and 48 minutes. I get a call by my business partners when they woke up. It's like, hey, we need to buy right now, lock in as much silver as you can. Like we spent almost all of our cash buying silver and gold. Like this weekend I called all of our connections. We're like, we need to lock in because we knew silver was a skyrocket. Silver was $71 on Saturday, and now we're at $81. I mean, let's take a look at the Kitco. Let's see what the price is right now live. So Kitco price is the where we look for physical. Right now, silver is at 81.50. It's gone up since Saturday, $10. And this is it took a little bit yesterday, but I knew it was in a skyrocket. And with that, people have been selling like crazy. I mean, not only did we buy a bunch of silver from our wholesalers and connections, but people that have been holding and have been holding their bags of silver that have been now in profit almost 100% are now dumping on the market. And investing.com, precious metals rally continues amid Venezuela shock. And there's a lot of discussion not about just oil. Trump talked about it being an oil play. He even quoted the Monroe Doctrine. I've been telling our C4SM advisory board chat, like, hey, this is just the Monroe Doctrine 2.0. And sure enough, right after I said that, he's in his speech talking about the Monroe Doctrine. And it's interesting. There's a lot of facets about what's happened and a lot of implications on what it's going to do to the global economy and the global markets, especially precious metals. And I think something that we discussed earlier today when you agreed to come on the show was that as libertarians we are and sound money advocates, we're really big on non-interventionism. Like we're really big on sovereignty of countries. But there's some questions that I put a post on my personal X. It's at Mining Life CEO. I got to change it. I just a thread about what does this really mean, right? The Venezuelans are celebrating. And this is clearly a play for resources. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. They have some of the largest gold and silver deposits. And with what's going on with China, what's going on with Russia, with and Iran, and all the rest of the world, we're starting to see a proxy wars for resources. This is going to be a resource war. And if there is going to be a World War III, it's going to be a war about resources. Which brings a lot of questions about the justness of what we've done, the justness or the justice of going into nations that have resources, but then you add on top of that the tyrannical governments that run them, right? So,
Exactly.
as libertarians, we're against invading or going into war and taking resources. We're all about individualism. But then factor in the human suffering element, right? Like that really does bring up questions. Now, I've been talking for a little bit. I want you to give your thoughts because I want to tie this back into Cuba, which Rubio and Trump talked about. But there's a lot of things to really think about with the geopolitical situation around the world, what's going on with money, what's going on with resources, and really just what's going on with the United States with the rest of the world. What are your thoughts?
Well, I couldn't help but think about this movie that I watched maybe 2 months ago. It's called Truth and Treason. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, I highly, highly recommend it. It talks about like the Nazi regime, and there are these I think three kids, and they're out giving they got like a long wave radio or short wave radio, um, and they were listening to British propaganda. Okay,
Yeah.
and then they, based on that propaganda, they made flyers and they gave it to as many people as possible. They dropped it in mailboxes. They were trying to be completely anonymous. And in the end, they were considered traitors. Okay. And you might want to know where I'm headed out with this, right? But the I think that, and again, I don't agree with, the Nazis killing the Jews. I don't agree with
Yeah.
this, but truly, the victors write the history. Okay, that's what I honestly, honestly believe. Um, One thing that you're not taught in history books is that uh, Britain was, and oh gosh, who was the prime minister of Britain? Remind me.
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, exactly. He was in need. The economy of Great Britain was in shambles. It
Yeah.
needed something to bring its way out, and they were highly, highly incentivized to go to war, right? Because of, um, I mean, we a lot of times we think of Churchill as this great person. Really, he was just a drunkard.
Hmm.
Sorry, don't lose subscribers, but I mean, I can't help but think that these kids, they rejected propaganda
Yeah.
in favor of another form of propaganda, right?
Hmm.
So they were killed over the propaganda that they liked. And in my opinion, both propagandas were lies.
Mm.
Right? And a lot of times we want to think that, oh, we're American, we're the good guys, right? And it can always be spun like that. But in all honesty, we're being run by tyrants, right? It took an hour and something minutes to get Maduro, but yet we can't even arrest people in our own borders because there's probably some sort of secret alliance between Hillary Clinton and whoever else pulls the strings. I don't want to name names. Um, but it's sad. Um, but the main point of this is that the victors write the history. Sure, like there are a lot of people that their quality of life will go up. I mean, especially like in Venezuela, but it's really, really hard to tell who the heroes are and also who the villains are, especially if you're taking over countries because of oil, right?
Yeah. No, and that's why it's difficult, right? Like I was sharing my thoughts with the C4SM chat group that we're in, and one of my board members is like, "No, it's wrong all the time." I'm like, Yeah, but like, in my travels, going to Central America, Europe, I've been to Asia. There is a different sense of freedom and liberty around the world than there is in the United States, right? Our country was founded on the principles of individualism, of liberty, of freedom, religion, freedom of speech, and it's rooted in our existence from the birth of our nation. The rest of the world started as monarchies, oligarchies, despots or despotism, different forms of government where people were always subjugated under the rule of the few or the one.
Mhm.
So throughout human history, even in Europe, there is this sense that the government should be taking care of us, or there's a fear of the government because it's always been that way generationally. There's this DNA passes down knowledge. Kant calls it priori knowledge, right? That there's some knowledge that we are inherently born with, and when you have generation after generation after generation born in a nation where they're subjugated, there's this fear. Now, on top of that generational knowledge, you put on there that you actually live in a tyrannical government, whether it was usurped, like in Venezuela with Chavez and now Maduro, or in Cuba with Fidel Castro, in the regime that's there now. People, what these regimes do, like in the Soviet Union and in China initially, they literally murdered the intellectuals, they murdered the opposition leaders, they imprisoned any potential opposition to the point where they subjugated the entire society to force them to obey the state. And then nobody wants to rise up. Nobody wants to speak out. That's what they did in Nazi Germany. That's what they've done in every single tyrannical. That's what they did with Saddam Hussein. That's what they've done in Iran, right? So the question comes, and now I'm bringing in my family, right? I'm a first generation Cuban American, and all the Cubans I talked to that recently come from Cuba, they say that they've tried to rise up. And there was a recent like, not rebellion, but like protest in Cuba a year or two ago, and then videos got leaked, and the freaking government crushed the people, tore men out of their homes, stabbing them, shooting them like they're pigs, right? This is what's happening in tyrannical governments. So, like, we are all humans. We have this human experience. We're no different. A human in America, when we take away politics, when we take away religion, we're all the same. And that's something that connects us all. And there's questions that come up like, freedom and liberty is worth it. Freedom and liberty is worth the fight. And I'm not I hate neoconservatism, but there is a question, and I've been asking myself, it's kind of a catch-22. Do I violate my own ideals, my own beliefs of libertarianism and non-interventionism and just war? There's 7 qualifications for just war, for the sake of bringing liberty to people that can't fight or are so afraid of their own government, like in Venezuela. And apparently Cuba's on the radar to be next, because I know that the people have no will to rise up. And that's something we say in America. Well, let them rise up and create their own government. Sure, but if you speak up against your government, they're going to kill you. Even in Turkey, it's not a tyrannical government; they're a democratic regime. But one of our supporters out there, in fact, the person who runs C4SM Turkey, he talks about how you can't really speak up against the government because they will persecute you, throw you in jail. So it really brings up questions like, where does our ideals and idealism have limits, right? And that's a discussion that we had at the Liberty Forum in New Hampshire. Jeff Deist, former head of the Mises Institute, was giving a speech about how Trump's populism has gotten more done in a few years than the 60 plus years of libertarian idealism. And he was really questioning libertarians like, do we want to continue getting nothing done because we're such purists? Or do we actually get something done while bending our ideals? So these are the things that are going on in my head with what just happened in Venezuela. I would never have thought the United States would go in and take out a dictator. Dude, the United States went in an hour and 48 minutes, took out a head of state that had security from Cuba. They had the missile defense from Russia. They had radar systems from China, and they had the drones from Iran. Basically, all the countries that we're not at war with, but have tensions with. and the people are celebrating, right? So there's some real questions. And how does this tie into sound money? Like we'll get to that in a second. But I really wanted to really focus on like why Venezuela matters today, and what that means for the future in the gold and silver markets. But like, there are some serious questions that I'm asking myself that I think others are as well. Some people are like gung ho, let's go take over the world. Others, they don't really have those ideals. But I don't know. I've been talking a lot again. I wanted to have this episode to really flush out some ideas about our principles in the reality.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to that is, sure, us having free speech and everything, we're not persecuted, we're not threatened with jail. Although, I mean, it might be like frivolous lawsuits and whatnot. Our life isn't at risk, right? As it was like in Venezuela, where they need to have total control, right? We here in America, it's a different type of um servitude, I want to say,
Yeah.
right? Like, I
Hmm.
mean, just in Canada, that's like the closest example I have, right? In Canada, if you protested, like the truckers did, your bank accounts got shut down.
Yes. Yes.
It's a different way, it's a different stick.
Yeah.
And also like, if you come out with content, let's say on YouTube, that the government or whoever is in control likes, you will be promoted. And then all of a sudden, everything that comes in everyone's feed are just talking points that whoever's in control wants, right?
Right.
So we're persecuted in a different way. And that a lot of it has to do financially. Like, for example, our credit card got canceled. Like,
Hmm.
why? I called
Yeah.
them and they had no answer for me. Apparently, they may not like metal dealers or something like along those lines. But I mean, I would say I would prefer this type of. It's so hard to say. I'd prefer this type of um,
Persecution.
persecution, right, than having your life, on the line and everything. And at
It's
least you
first world
have
problems. We have
exactly.
first world problems. Our first world problems are our freedoms that are inherent from God, instilled in our Constitution, being limited and taken away. That's a much different problem than life, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life in other parts of the world are what they're going to basically take away from them.
Mhm.
Imprisonment, and then here's something that my board member mentioned. um he's like, well, like what just happened in Venezuela, it's just the not the cartel, what did he call it, there's a book called New Confessions of an Economic Hitman, where the United States will send like lobbyists or economic hitmen to try to convince the leaders of a nation to do the will of the American companies, right, corporations. If they don't get it done, then they send in the jackals or the CIA. If the CIA doesn't assassinate or force the leader to do the deal, they send in the military, right, and then the corporations. He calls that process American empire.
Mhm.
And the globalists. He's like, well, we just giving Venezuela to the globalists. Yes, that is correct. And the globalists are the corporations, and the corporations control every government. They pay off the people. There's corruption everywhere, right? So I'm arguing myself, like, yes, that's correct. But what is worse for the people in Venezuela? Is it, or in Cuba, is it their life by the heel and the boot of the tyrannical government and the military suffocating them and stripping not just their liberty but their potential life, or the freedom they're going to get and the first world problems we have where the globalists control the finances? Like, what is better? What side of the coin is worse? Globalists controlling a state and stripping them of all their natural resources to increase American empire, or a tyrannical government literally killing and suffocating the people? Right? It's is it Hillary or Trump? Right? Is it people is the worst of the what is the term, the lesser evil? The lesser evil. Do we want the lesser evil to be the tyrannical government that is literally oppressing and killing the people, or do we want the lesser evil to be the globalists who are going to control the people through fiat and debt and everything? Right? So this is why we say it's City for Sound Money. Gold and silver are freedom. The government can't control, the globalists can't control the people if they're using gold and silver as money because they can't print it, they can't control it. We chose it, the people. So take away sound money. That's a big fight we're fighting to bring sound money back as money. But let's take a look at reality. What's worse, I ask you, of the two options, in your opinion?
In my opinion, there's no way around the tyrannical government that threatens to kill people. There's no
Right.
way there's no way around that other than fleeing the country and going to Antarctica or wherever someone like Alaska, right?
Right.
Now with our type of tyranny that we're living in right now, the threat of, hey, we're gonna take away your ability to transact, there's a way around that.
Yeah.
And
You opt
that's
out of the system.
that's exactly what got us into gold and silver in the first place,
Yes.
right?
Gold and
Is
silver is freedom. It's opting
yes,
out of this
yes,
globalist system.
yes, exactly. And as I said last time on this show, during COVID, they started telling people that your money had germs on it and you should prefer
Yeah.
to transact with your credit and debit cards. Like
Yeah.
I just saw that and I'm like, they're demonizing cash. They
Yeah.
want to go to a cashless society. Why? Because cash is similar to gold and silver where it can't be you can't be tracked. You can give it to a homeless person and that be totally cool. You can't easily do
Hmm.
that with a debit card.
Right.
Um,
In
so
Europe,
so
first world problems. Europe, you can't take out, I think, more than 5,000 euros now cash. It was 10,000. Now I think it's five, and they're trying to get rid of it completely. And those are different issues, right? The globalist control of the monetary system, which I have said on this show multiple times, that fiat currency, it's enslavement of humanity, right? And tyrannical governments, the whole fiat system really started with Marx, and socialism and central banks came from Marxism to control the people, to steal the wealth of the people, sound money, freedom, right? That's a different thing, right? Monetary policy controls so much. If there was sound money, tyrannical governments could not control as much as they can now, right? The United States, Russia, China, Europe, they can't suppress the people and have constant, endless wars. What's going on in Venezuela could not happen if we were in a
Mhm.
sound money economy. But that we know that's the solution. The question that I think needs to be asked, because I'm really a fusionist, which means I'm a libertarian on economic issues. I'm a social conservative on social issues. And when it comes to national defense, I'm a little bit, because I'm Catholic, I'm a little bit, in the middle. But I think the question that needs to be asked is, what is more just and what is better for the world and better for the people around the world? Do we have the United States that has the capability to take out a head of state within less than 2 hours, to free entire nations, to give them the opportunity for economic liberty and freedom and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Do we bend our ideals of non-interventionism so that liberty can reign? I'm not saying be a neocon. I'm saying it's a question that needs to be asked, and I don't know the answer. I don't know where I lean. I'm leaning towards, I don't know, realism versus idealism, but I think it's something that needs to be asked. And I don't know. I just want to have this conversation. I thought you'd be great to come in because we could talk about gold and silver, what's going on. But I think you and I have had other conversations off the air, and we see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I think you have really good perspectives. But I think that is a question that we need to ask. And I really don't have the answer. I want the audience to think about this. I want you to think about this, and give your thoughts as we go through this broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be completely honest too. I don't know the answer. I
Yeah.
it, it's really hard because when there is like a big government, the companies, if it's not the government that's tyrannical, it's the companies that are making things tyrannical, right? And like saying, hey, okay, I make bombs for a living. We need to blow up more bombs. Okay, well, let's go ahead and nudge this person to
Yeah.
start a conflict with this country, and then we get more bombs made to blow them up and more money, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
the military industrial complex. And for the audience, we have quite a few people watching. If you guys have questions for us, go ahead and ask them. We try to keep it to about 40 minutes to an hour, give or take. So we got some time. I want to hear your thoughts. You who are watching, what do you think? Should we just be completely isolationist, not care about other people, or should we think about what this means for the world? I think the world's going to be in a better place now that Venezuela, the head of state, has been toppled, right? Because of what's going on with Iran, Russia, and China. Look, by this happening, we cut off oil to China. We cut off oil from Iran and Russia, right? We cut off a foothold in the Western Hemisphere for our biggest rivals, right? It's weakening Cuba. Venezuela was Cuba's biggest ally. Now Cuba doesn't have an ally. I mean, heck, it was Cuban soldiers or bodyguards protecting Maduro. Almost all of them were killed. Right, so that's going to have some reverberations. And there's a movie, Charlie Wilson's War. Is that right? Is that? Remember that movie? I think it was Charlie Wilson's War. He was a California. I think he was a California congressman. And it was interesting. He's the one that really raised the money for the U.S. to go to war in Afghanistan against the Soviet Union. And at the end of the movie, one of the CIA agents was essentially saying, "Well, it's good." Charlie was like, "Well, it was good what I did, right? Raising money." And he gave a proverb. It's like there's this Chinese proverb where a kid broke his leg, and the town's like, "Oh, what a shame." But then the war started, and then they went to conscript soldiers because he broke his leg off the horse. They're like, "Oh, that's good. He missed it, right?" So, the wise man says, "Oh, we'll see." It's like, well, then there was a competition for money or a wife, and he couldn't do it. So it's like, we'll see. The whole proverb was, we don't know what's going to happen. It seems like it's good now, but it might be bad in the future. It seems bad now, might be good in the future. But we'll see what happens with this Venezuela thing. We'll see what the new Don Roe doctrine that Trump coined, what this means. We know what it means for precious metals. It means uncertainty, it means fear, and people are flocking to gold and silver like crazy, and we're seeing all-time highs in silver, $10 moves, these huge swings and yields. But let me see if there's any comments. Michael Scott, 76.
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry. One thing I want to add too with oil, I mean, gold represents energy. Okay.
Yes.
It takes so much energy to produce a 1 ounce thing of gold, right? And it doesn't matter. So let's say energy prices go down in the United States, okay, which we're expecting to happen. I don't know for sure. Maybe they might want to pull the rug and capitalize on that more. But energy, right? If it costs less to produce a 1 ounce coin in the United States, right? It's going to cost more to make a 1 ounce coin over in China or in another country that relies on this Venezuelan oil, right?
Yes.
So it's a hedge on energy. It's what
Yes.
what I like to say.
100%.
It's a hedge. So it really, like, overall in the world, if your energy is going to, it's going to be pretty much stable if you average everything together, right? Because
Yeah.
you take away from China, okay, energy goes up, and then energy goes to the US, it's easier, right? And the markets are still connected, and they're always, they're going. All I'm saying is that gold and silver are excellent hedges on
Yeah.
the volatility of energy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's what a resource war is, right? It's resources that all take energy to create. Gold and silver take the energy of the sun, supernova, and then oil to power everything. But let me pull up some comments here. We have Michael Scott 71. I love Trump's limited, precise use of force, then back off a bit and massage the rebuild from afar. Limited isolationism. That's an interesting point. And then he also followed up with, we have to respect the dignity of other citizens when they have lost their freedom under despots and communism. Yeah, that's my point too, right? Like I might not know anybody over there, but I know what my family went through when Fidel Castro killed tens of thousands of Cubans, took my family's property and everything. The dignity of the human person is extremely important. And then sick liaisons. Don't count out Venezuela's regime. Don't count Venezuela's regime out just yet, just because Maduro is absent. If more isn't done, his supporters and heirs will remain in place. Yes, and that's my point too, right? Like Maduro, Fidel, all these regimes have decapitated the leadership. The people are rising up. Let's see if the people actually rise up without any more help. And that's what I don't know the answer, guys. I don't. I'm really questioning, like, what is the right thing. Obviously, the Trump administration feels like limited isolationism. I think that's interesting. They had to go through the legal route of calling him a terrorist, and that's why he had the legal authority to do it. Some legal finagling there to be able to do this without declaring a war. It was terrorism 19 with the Patriot Act and all the laws that came out after 9/11 really gave the president of the United States a lot of leeway on getting enemy combatants and terrorists, and that's what they used to get Maduro. And that's why they sent them to New York to try him as a narco whatever.
I think it's so funny because I mean, since when was the U.S. government so concerned about drugs? When they're
That's not
out guarding poppy seeds, or the poppies over in Afghanistan.
that's the excuse, right? That's the whole oil, the whole drug thing. I think it was just an excuse for the resources, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
to your point, right? The corporations, like I've said on this show and on other shows that I've spoken on, that America is no longer a republic. It's never really been a democracy. It's a democratic republic, if anything. But we're now a corporatocracy, where the corporations control everything, right? Not every don't get me wrong, not every politician is corrupt. Not everybody takes money from lobbyists and so forth. But a lot are, man. A lot are.
Mhm.
I haven't been to a state government where there isn't corruption. I haven't seen, municipalities less so, right? I mean, big corporations aren't going to municipalities unless like it's Miami or New York where they really want to build. But that was a solution. Full circle to the conversation with my board member. I said, we freed the people. Globalists get a foothold in Argentina, Venezuela. Then the battle is throwing these corrupt politicians and throwing these corporations that are using corruption to get their way in jail. That's a much harder task than overthrowing the government. Right? Cleaning out the corruption in government, cleaning up the corruption in our society is so much more harder than toppling a government. You have no idea, guys. It's insane.
What
Let's see.
would it take? So I mean, let's just say that Maduro is kind of like equivalent to all of us. All of his aspirations and everything are equivalent to like everything bad that's going on right now. Like, the Jeffrey Epstein list is just an example of probably all of Maduro's aspirations. Just as an example, hypothetical, okay?
Yeah.
What would it take to clean house over here? Would it take a bigger government? Would it take a righteous people? Like that
Right. The politicians or the statesmen that are elected are only as good as the population that votes for them, right? So it has to be society. Like we saw in the Tea Party, right? The Tea Party rose up and threw out all these incumbents and brought in like libertarian ideals. So it has to come from the grassroots, but ultimately you need a statesman like Ron Paul. If Ron Paul was elected president and he had the will to root out corruption, that's fine. But then you have the bureaucracy that Trump had to fight against, right? That there were his first term. He learned from his first term in the second, and now he's in the second term. He learned how corrupt the bureaucracy was. That's why he's firing everybody and cleaning house. So I'm not saying that Trump is like the anti-corruption guy. I'm just saying that there's aspects of what he's done with Doge in the beginning and rooting out corruption through the donations in Somalia. So there is this there. I see him trying to root out corruption, but there's corruption everywhere, man. And it's now I have this thing scrolling underneath. My views and the views of Koda, or our personal views, are not the views of C4SM. So we're not giving it advice, or we're not speaking on behalf of C4SM. This episode is just our thoughts and views. But it's what will it take? You need a strong leader who is a statesman. And the difference between a statesman and a politician is a statesman has a set of principles, and he doesn't really care what people say or think about him. He's going to stick to his guns, follow the Constitution, follow his set principles, and move forward. There are very few statesmen that I've met in my lobbying in America, at the federal, state, and local levels. There are some, not a lot. We need more statesmen. We need more good people to rise up, to put up with the BS in government. And we need people to rise up that are good people who don't care about the money, who don't care about the power. And that's the problem. Power and money draw those who want it to government. It's just a tale throughout time, and repeats itself. It's hard, man. Rooting out corruption's difficult. So going back to the Venezuela thing, I don't know. I don't know if we should just free people and then figure it out later. And that's where I'm kind of leaning, right? Let the globalists take it over, take the resources, but at least the people who are suffering, who are being murdered, are have a sense of freedom, some more freedom. The living a life, being able to make money, right? Save money, because Venezuela has 1.200% inflation. Cuba, what economy does Cuba have? North Korea, what economy does North Korea have? Get rid of the despots, get rid of the tyrants, bring back sound money, bring back capitalism. Capitalism is the best form of government when you take out greed and corruption. When you have greed and corruption and capitalism, it's sometimes it's what we experience in Canada, and what we experience when they take away our liberties. It's there is no real easy answer. It's a struggle and a fight that we, the people, have to fight towards. And that's why we think monetary policy is one of the best ways to start bringing that in. Because if we make gold and silver legal tender, we make it legal tender again in the nation, and that constrains government. We have to constrain government, and the easiest way to do that is through sound money, right? I feel like I've been on a soapbox this episode. Normally, I interview
No,
guys.
you're good. You speak great things. And I'd love to add, based on some of my personal experience. You mentioned greed. Greed's bad, right?
Yeah,
Like, greed destroys. I mean, when is enough enough, right?
yeah,
For me and my wife, we have a roof over our head. We have farm animals. We could probably survive a little bit without electricity, without the store and whatnot. To me, that's enough, right? My kids, they're growing up. They're like, it's enough, right?
yeah,
I Being generous with your money, and I'd like to encourage everyone, if you haven't already, like, set aside like a little budget off the side each month to give to the poor and the needy, the sick and the afflicted. From
yeah,
that, uh, y- it's so hard to explain, but you get so much. You get a better understanding of life when you are more giving with what you have. I'll tell you, there's a guy from Mexico. Great. I hired this. They're putting on like rocks on the side of my house, right? Just for like aesthetics. And he hired this guy who just barely immigrated from, I think it was Honduras. And anyways, when he was done, he was getting paid like minimum wage, but he was super happy, and that's like a ton of money in his country.
yeah.
And anyways, I paid him for, or after they did the rocks, I'm like, hey, you do concrete, because like in Central America, all they build with concrete. That's like all they do, with rocks, concrete, etc. And I said, hey, would you mind like doing my steps for me? Like, I need
Mm,
steps to my house. And he happily did it. I bought the concrete to do it. And in the end, I gave him a nice tip with some silver coins. And he's like, "Oh, cool. What's this?" Like he probably thought it was like a challenge medallion or something, right? I'm like, "Oh, this is this it's silver, oro, or plata."
Plata, yeah.
And yeah, and he's like, like his mouth dropped. He's like, "I've never held silver in my life." And he's like, "Are you sure?" And at that time, it was like only $20. But
Yeah,
it's in his eyes, that was that was worth way more than
yeah,
paper that I just handed him for the entire job. But I mean, you'll as I said previously, if you give, you're more generous with what you
yeah.
have, you'll have a greater respect or a greater understanding of what it's like to be human too. And also to realize when you're being greedy.
Yeah, I agree. I think being generous is also just people appreciate it more when they don't have a lot. You know, even a small gesture goes a long way. It's you reap what you sow on the Christian side, and Eastern, it's karma, right? So it's interesting. Ultimately, it's about being a better person, and I think that's one thing I like about the Sound Money movement. We all have this respect for the movement itself and for each other because we're all fighting something that under the underlying ideal for the entire movement is freedom and liberty, and bringing that to the people and treating people better. So there's a lot of comments I've been ignoring, and we're probably going to be wrapping up here shortly. But I want to go through a few of them. Let me see. Where I saw a question I wanted to answer. Um, Here we go. Here's something we can talk about. Thoughts on the silver smelter, Korea Zinc, $7.4 billion startup in Clarksville, Tennessee. I actually had a property in Clarksville, Tennessee, that's partly owned by the DoD and JP Morgan. Yeah, I think there was an article that came up from that talked about how they already had a deal to take the precious metals resources, a smelter, to make refined gold and silver from Venezuela. So it's a resource war, right? Um, and I think Trump was very open. That's one thing I think you can just say about Trump. He's open about what he wants to do, and he's not afraid to say it. Let me see. Majority are corrupt. Yes. He's saying majority of the corrupt, or also they wouldn't be in office. I would say that for most politicians and leadership, not all. There's some really good people. Here's another one. This has been overshadowed. Venezuela's overshadowed this, but why not talk about the Iranian revolution going on right now? Dude, Iran is going through some issues too. We got Venezuela, what just happened. Iran, people are rioting on the streets, and the government's cracking down hard, but it looks like they're starting to lose control. Dude, if Venezuela's gone, Iran goes down, like Russia's going to be alone. It's just going to be Russia and China. It's crazy what's going on around the world right now.
Yeah, it is. And one other thing, going back into like history of why does Iran hate the United States so much? Why does
So
or all those other countries, right? It's because they tried to do what they did to Venezuela to those countries as well.
yes,
Like
yep.
it's insane. A lot of this is just like brushed over in the news or not even talked about.
And that's why it's not an easy answer.
Yeah.
Look, I gave bad examples and good examples. A bad example of the U.S. getting involved and not working out for the people is Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. Where else? Cuba early on. I mean, there's a lot of bad examples of the U.S. getting involved. Vietnam, right? There are a lot of bad examples of the U.S. going in and not working. But then you
Mhm.
have some good examples of the U.S. going in. Europe is a big one, right? World War One and World War Two, stopping the Germans. Here's one thing I said: like up until Hawaii, the U.S. conquered Hawaii. Since then, the U.S. has never used its military might to conquer and bring in as a new territory. It's only used its militaries to liberate, meaning at least taking somebody out and trying to free the people. Nation building, neocons, instilling corporations. Look, that's let's just look at the very narrow definition I'm using. They haven't conquered anybody,
Yeah.
right? They spread American empire. They spread American corporatism. They took resources, but they never used their militaries to conquer since Hawaii. Um, And I think that's something to be said, because after World War II, we were the only country in the world with nukes. And if we wanted to, we could have conquered most of the world, if not all of it. Right. But we haven't. We've never used our military since then to conquer the world. We've used it to spread liberty, or at least free people, which I think is something that can be said about what America, the positive impact that we've had on the world. And a lot of nations forget that America actually hasn't conquered them when they've gone in. Yeah, they had troops on the ground for a long time. Iraq for 20 years, same thing with Afghanistan. But we didn't conquer them. We instilled governments and let the people run it, and eventually they got taken over by ISIS or whatever. But there's something to be said about the U.S. military not using their armies to conquer, since the Hawaiian territory.
Yeah. So
Um,
so tying this back into like gold and silver, right?
yeah,
There's a lot of people, like especially in like the storefront stores, who think that this is the top, right? That okay, I got to liquidate because this is the top. I got to get out before it goes down. Or there are other people, like a lot of people that go to Defy the Grid, who think, "Oh my gosh, this is so bullish. I got to get in, get in, get in." Like, how do you gauge where we are? Because I mean, I've seen charts, right? Silver goes, "Woo," right,
yes.
and then a little bit higher than it was before. But how do you gauge where we're at right now?
With gold and silver in
Yeah,
general?
exactly. Just in general, as well as, taking into effect, I mean, I'm sure in those times too, when it went up, there were national, worldwide things going on
Yeah.
as well. Like, how do you gauge where we're at? Or is this just like the end of a currency, so the end of the US dollar, and it's just always going to go up? Is this time different?
I think it is. I think with everything that's going on, with everything that's happened, I think that we're seeing the end of fiat currency. We're seeing a new order. I mean, look, everything that's going on is because of BRICS, is because of Russia, is because of what's going on with buying gold and silver. There's not enough silver in the vaults. That's why there's a resource war right now, right? This is everything is tying in. It isn't just one factor. It isn't just Trump being Trump. It's like 3D, 4D chess, where they're looking at what is going on with the dollar and treasuries. They're dumping it. The gold is, if you take the Federal Reserve out, gold is the largest reserve currency right now. There is not enough silver. People are demanding the physical delivery of silver, of those contracts. There's not enough gold and silver. Thus, why these things are happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Russia and China start. I mean, Russia's going into Ukraine for their resources. I wouldn't be surprised if China tries to go into Taiwan. I mean, that's for semiconductors. A sense it controls 90-something% of all semiconductors. Everything is tied in, and the monetary aspect is the core of it. So where are we? I don't see gold and silver slowing down. I don't see it slowing down. There's not enough gold and silver for the central banks or for the individuals. Right? People should be stacking to protect themselves of this crazy uncertainty that's going on around the world. That's the whole reason. Gold and silver is freedom. That's why you need to stack it and protect yourself with gold and silver. So where do I see the markets? I see the just people are selling, yes, here physically, but people are buying from you. I'm selling too. But people who don't understand that gold and silver is freedom, gold and silver is money, yeah, they're going to sell to get that currency. But they should be holding. Look, sell what you need to survive in your society to use that fiat currency. But with everything that's going on around the world right now, you seriously need to consider, like, do I want to continue holding the dollar? Do I want to have all my money in the bank? Or should I opt out? Should I opt out of this system? Should I opt out and put myself into a sound money economy? Start spending my gold back. Start spending my silver bits. Start spending my gold. Starting sound money markets, like farmers markets, but sound money markets, right? So where do I see it? I don't see it slowing down. I see the death of fiat, not like the death of the dollar. Something new is coming. We're coming to the tail end of whatever this fiat system is, and something new is coming. It's going to be digital. I've said this over and over. It's going to be backed by something, gold and silver and other assets. So why not buy those commodities? Why not buy gold and silver? That is what the future is. It's tokenized physical world, real world assets. So I don't see a slowdown, man.
Yeah, I mean, either. I think the big aha moment is, I mean, so I've automated all of my prices, right? I use APIs to get the prices to come in, so I can get it as close to be extremely competitive, right? Um, I almost never know what the spot price is doing, right? So right here, like, it might be kind of hard to believe that, but yes, that's how I live. I don't necessarily look at the spot price. I just fulfill orders, make sure my customers are happy, and life moves on, right? But every once in a while, I get a customer that says, "Have you seen the spot price of this and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let me check right now." Oh my gosh, what,
I
right?
know, it's insane.
What happened? So the big aha moment was a couple of those times when I looked at the spot price and it went up. I would go to Kitco and I would see it says silver went up this much. Why? And it gives like a reason why. Well, a few of those reasons why it went up were just complete BS, right?
Yeah,
And then that's when the aha came in where, you know, it's over. Like,
yeah,
they don't need a reason, just the currency, the US dollar, whatever fiat is out there. It's had its time to shine and it's over.
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't
They
need
don't.
a reason like a war or anything. It's just all going down, and right now it's just a money grab for
Yes.
whatever commodity there is.
What was the number one topic discussed for like the last 6, 7 months? Inflation, inflation, inflation. What is everybody talking about now? Venezuela, Venezuela. It's just taking everybody's focus off the real problem: monetary theft of the people. Right? Like gold and silver is the solution. That's how we constrain these endless wars, bringing us back to sound money. Since we've been on the show, gold and silver has gone up another $1.40. We're at $82.71 in silver, and almost $4,500 in gold, 4,497. So, you know,
And you know what? One other thing that I want to add too is premiums have also gone up by $1.
yes, dude.
Yeah.
Last Monday, I was American Eagles were selling for $3.50, $4 over spot. Now they're selling for $7 over spot. American Silver Eagles. It's
Mhm.
insane. The premiums have skyrocketed. Buffaloes are selling for $4. Silver buffaloes are selling for $4 over spot. Maple leaves, which typically are $2 over spot, are selling for $5, $6 over spot. If you look at the top three cheapest on fine bullion prices, it's insane. The premiums have been going crazy. And dude, Upstate Coin is running out of stuff. Dylan Gage is running out of stuff. Golden Eagle coin, which is the largest independent bullion dealer on the East Coast, like their price sheet says out, 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 out. They're running out of metals, guys. If you're
Mhm.
hearing this, go to your local coin shop. Go to Defy the Grid. Let me show his website. Defy
Yeah.
the Grid. Buy inventory because it sounds like you got stuff.
Hey, go ahead and click on let's see, silver rounds as an example. Go down.
Still around, okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead and click on silver rounds. What I can get all these products on here, okay?
Yeah.
But
Look
look
at
at
the
this.
days.
You're at 16 to 30 days.
Unknown
Unknown
delay.
delay. Exactly.
Limited quantity, unknown delay. Dude, it's crazy right now. People don't understand. Like we in the industry are seeing this in the wholesale. 16 days, 5 days, 5 days. Guys, it's not going to slow down. If anything, this price is going to skyrocket. It's going to keep going up. What amazing, interesting, crazy times we live in, Coda.
Mhm.
What a time to be alive. Like the founding fathers of the sound money movement have been screaming since 1971 of this situation happening. They would never, I don't think they ever thought it was going to take this long. It's finally here. Right? I mean, even guys like David Morgan, who've been saying since 1997 that silver was going to hit $100. It took forever to finally, it's going to get there. I think we're going to see 100, probably. Man, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of January we get $100 ounce. But, this we're living in amazing times. We're fighting the fight to bring sound money to the citizens so that they can be free. And today's episode was different from any other episode. We normally stay focused on sound money. I really wanted to bring up this philosophical idea because it's everybody's talking about it. I mean, just from the comments today, and people going back and forth, disagreeing, agreeing with what we're saying, arguing with each other. It's a hot topic. I wanted to discuss it because there are some really true, deep philosophical things that I think need to be questioned about what is right, what is wrong when it comes to this type of interventionism. But we're coming to the end of our broadcast. And Koda, thank you so much for being on the channel. Is there anything you want to share with everybody before we wrap it up?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for being a wealth of knowledge as well as leading this movement. Um, uh, Honestly, just like as an example, okay, we drilled a well, okay, this like maybe 2 years ago. I met the will driller, and oh, by the way, I also gave him like a few ounces of gold. I met the well driller over at like the hardware store, and he looked at me, gave me a big old smile and everything. I'm like, "What are you so happy about?" He's like, those gold ounces you gave me? They went up. They went up like 100%, and it's great. I mean, I needed that service in that time, and
Yeah,
it's also great knowing that his wealth isn't going down
yeah.
with time. So yeah, I mean, that's all I have to add. Give more, be more generous, and yeah, go ahead and you're a wealth of knowledge, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the kind words, and thank you for being part of the Sound Money movement with everything you do with Defy the Grid. You have some of the best prices online, so thank you for that. And you're just a great guy overall. If you guys should get to know Koda, if you have the opportunity, he's a great guy to know. So, that's the end of our broadcast. If you support what we're doing to bring freedom and sound money to the world and bring gold and silver back as money legally throughout the United States and around the world, please support us. Go to citizensforsoundmoney.org, become a member, or you can become a member of our YouTube channel. We that's another way that you can join. And if we get 25 people to join as a member of our YouTube channel, we will start having private meetings, private live broadcasts with our members to discuss whatever you want to discuss. You can ask me, ask Ben Schaefer, our director of operations. We can bring our chair. We're going to have one-on-one meetings to discuss what's going on in the movement, how you can get involved. We can even train you on how to do citizen lobby in your state, in your county, in your city. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll have a premiere this Friday at 7 p.m., and we'll see you live next week on Sound Money Matters Live. Thank you, and God bless.